I'm Chef Yankel, and this is the best way to brine and smoke a turkey breast. Keep watching. Cooking turkey is one of my favorite things in the whole world, but sometimes a whole turkey is just a little too much. So I'm going to show you how to beautifully brine a turkey breast. This is an exceptional brine that I've worked a long time on. And then I'm going to show you how to smoke it on your charcoal grill. You can apply these cooking directions to pretty much any method, but smoking it on the grill is breathtaking. So let's get started. The basics of a brine involve equal parts sugar and salt, some liquid, and then additional flavors. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with about a cup of kosher salt and a cup of sugar going into a pot of water. And we wanna bring it all to a boil, just let it simmer for just a couple minutes, and then we're gonna add ice so that we have more water volume, cools it down quickly, put our turkey inside. Let's go maximum power. Next up, we're gonna add some flavors. So I'm going with some classic fall flavors. I've got maple syrup, I've got apple cider, about a cup of maple syrup, and a cup and a half of apple cider. Next, we're gonna add some herbs and flavors. So I've got whole black peppercorn. I've got whole coriander, about 2 tablespoons of each. I've got some fresh bay leaves, but the dried version works perfectly well. And don't count them, just a handful. We're gonna add an onion. We're gonna go with just a rough cut. Quartered is fine. If you rinse the onion first, you can leave the peel on. Might save you a step. Next up, we're gonna go with some smashed garlic. Don't need to chop it, just cut the root off, give it a smash. Again, you can leave the peel on if you feel like it. We're going for big, bold flavors in the brine that are gonna translate to delicate flavors in the turkey. Now the deal with a brine is we're creating a space for osmosis to happen where the salty, flavorful liquid is going to replace some of the moisture or even add additional moisture to your turkey. And this keeps it from drying out. And that means every time you take a bite of your incredible, delicious smoked turkey breast, you're actually going to get some of the flavor of the brine as well. You can substitute herbs, you can substitute your liquids, you can substitute your sugars, as long as you have that balance of salt and sugar and it is equal to your water volume, because you don't want it to be too salty. So I'm going basically 2 cups, 1 cup salt, 1 cup sugar, to 4 cups of water as my starting point. And then I'm gonna add an additional 12 cups of water via ice as the remaining balance of the liquid. And last but not least, a little bit of extra flavor. We're gonna go with an apple. Again, rough cut. Just gonna take the core out. Those can go right in just like that. Overnight is fine. However, you can also measure it by hours per pound, so an hour per pound in weight, but I would recommend an 8-hour minimum for a nice big turkey breast. And then finally, a little bit of citrus, because I love it, and because we're gonna be using my favorite all-purpose butter recipe as the basting for our turkey. And it's got orange in it, so we want to marry those flavors together. These can go in. I'm just using the center and taking the tops off because the peel can get a little bit bitter. And I've already zested this for my butter. We're just gonna bring that to a quick boil, shut it off, and then we'll add our ice and our turkey. Now, here's a trick that I'm going to show you to make the turkey breast cook evenly. It also gives you a beautiful round presentation. It's called trussing, and it's basically tying it up with string. So I'm gonna start at the fat end. I've got a skinny end and a fat end, and I'm gonna tuck the skinny end underneath, like so. I take my string. It should be several times the length of the turkey breast. Make sure you're using a kitchen-safe string. Don't worry, it will not light on fire, although it might get a little bit crispy, and don't forget to cut it off afterwards. Put the string against your finger, make a loop so it's around your hand. Grab the turkey breast, drop your loop, carry it so that it's a little bit further than the first round that you tied, and pull it tight so it's centered, and repeat all the way down. You don't need too much string, don't need to wrap it and wrap it and wrap it. I'm gonna go with about 5 loops for this breast, and that's just to make sure that it retains its shape and circumference all the way down as evenly as possible. Let's get that around the edge. Even it out, even with string, presentation is key. And then I've got this little extra piece of string here. I'm gonna flip it over, bring it all the way around, and tie a knot right at the end. Got my trusty kitchen shears. Snip off the excess because that will light on fire. Flip it back over, and we have ourselves a beautifully trussed turkey breast. This is gonna cook so evenly. It's gonna be round and golden. Keep watching. All right, our brine has come to a boil. I'm gonna turn it off. So we give it a little bit of a stir just to make sure everything's incorporated. And now I'm gonna add the remaining volume of ice. And that's gonna cool it down, plus add the additional water we need. And this becomes my brine bucket. So we're going turkey into the bucket. I'm gonna stir this up. Make sure it's cooled down nicely. You don't want to brine your turkey breast in a warm brine because it's gonna take some time for it to cool down. We want a cold brine, cold turkey breast going into the fridge. If you wanna add one more element of flavor here, toast your spices first. That is cold. Here we go. Right into our turkey bin. If you happen to have a turkey breast that is not fully submerged, you can add a little bit of water. You can throw a plate on top to keep it submerged, or you can flip it halfway through the brining process, which is probably what I'm gonna do. So now we're gonna cover it up. We're gonna put it on a bottom shelf in the refrigerator. You wanna let it brine for roughly 1 hour per pound, or about 8 hours for a breast this size, or overnight. A little bit longer is not gonna hurt it, as long as you haven't gone with too much salt in your brine. Our turkey breast is brined overnight. Time to set up the grill. What I've done is I've set up 2 zones. I've got my smoking zone and I've got the hot zone. This turkey breast will never go over the hot zone. We're gonna keep it in the cool zone the entire time. And we're just gonna rotate it periodically. So I've got lump charcoal in here going. It's been going for a while. Don't need a big hot fire. I want the internal temperature of the grill to be roughly 300 degrees, give or take. Not too picky about that because when you brine it, it's really hard to screw it up. And I'm just gonna move that off to the side. Now I'm using 2 types of wood chips. I'm using soaked wood chips and dry wood chips because I feel like I get the maximum amount of smoke out of both. The smoked ones smoke a little bit more slowly. The dry ones ignite immediately, but when we cover the grill and cut off most of the oxygen, they're both gonna smoke beautifully. I'm using pecan in this case because I feel like it really matches with some of the flavors that we put in the brine. And all I'm gonna do is throw these wood chips right on the coal, like so. And I reserve some for later. I'm gonna add wood chips periodically while we're smoking the turkey breast just to keep that smoke going. Smoke is such a gentle cooking process and you wanna make sure it's constantly happening, but it's not overwhelming. Put the grate back on. We're gonna let the wood chips light on fire, and while they do that, let's get our turkey out of the brine. That is a beautifully, beautifully brined turkey. Everything looks the way I left it, which is good. That means I didn't over salt it. Sometimes you'll see the salt can curl things or discolor them, but this looks absolutely gorgeous. One thing not to forget, this is an important step. After you take your turkey breast out of the brine, make sure you give it a quick rinse in cold water and then pat dry because that will rinse off any of the excess brine that might be stuck to the skin. It's pretty powerful stuff and we just want the flavors we got out of it. So I'm gonna go give that a rinse and then we're gonna get to smoking. Now for the fun stuff. The grill is smoking beautifully. Wood chips are hot. Everything's ready to go. I'm gonna go right onto the grill opposite the little charcoal pile. And now for my favorite part, I'm using my all-purpose holiday themed butter. It's a mixture of herbs and citrus. Make sure you go check out the recipe for our delicious all-purpose butter on the channel. Let's give it a brush. And I'm gonna brush it periodically throughout the cooking process just so it continues to baste. Every time you brine something, you almost eliminate any need for additional moisture. It's just so succulent and juicy no matter what happens. And that really is the beauty of cooking this lean breast this way. Between the gentle heat of the smoke and the brine, it's gonna be out of this world. That looks gorgeous. I can already smell the garlic and the herbs starting to warm up. I can't tell you what's in it. You gotta go find that other video. We're gonna put the lid back on, and I angle it so that the opening, the grate on top, is fully open and it's over the turkey breast. That's gonna create that offset airflow that pulls the smoke across the breast and out. Cooking time on this can vary. You want an internal temperature of roughly 165. It takes about 20 minutes per pound, as it would with a whole turkey. And obviously this is a smaller breast, it's just a few pounds, so it shouldn't take too long. Hour, hour and a half, depending on the heat of your grill. And if you feel like one side's getting too hot, you rotate it, which I'll show you in just a moment. It is smoking beautifully. I'm at the halfway point, roughly, so I'm gonna flip it around and baste it. That is gorgeous. All we're gonna do is turn it so the other side is facing the heat, like so. Take my special butter, give it another baste. Good coverage on all the edges. We want that skin to get nice and crispy. And we're covering it back up. And you've got another 20, 30 minutes or so. It is time. Let's take a look. Have you ever seen a turkey breast so beautiful? I've made a lot of these, and every time I'm pleasantly surprised by how much nicer it looks. When you smoke it, you get that gorgeous mahogany color, that beautiful crispy skin. We're gonna let it rest for about 15 to 20 minutes. If you can let it rest a little bit longer, even better. Don't slice it right away, and don't forget to cut the string off. When it comes to slicing our turkey breast, it's not complicated. I'm just gonna cut the string off first. And I wanna be pretty gentle because I really don't wanna undo all the work I put into that beautiful crispy skin. That is magnificent. Wow. And you can feel there's so much juice in there from the brine. It's just holding in there. That little wiggle, that means that is a juicy turkey breast. When you dry it out, it sits there like a log, but that is gonna burst with flavor. This is the moment of truth. Let's see how good this really is. I'm gonna go with medium thin slices, but you can go thicker, you can go super thin. If you're gonna go really, really thin slices, I recommend refrigerating it first so it's ice cold, slicing thin, and then reheating with some gravy. Oh, it's tender like butter. Wow, perfectly cooked. You get a little bit of a smoke ring there. That means the smoke flavor penetrated nicely. It's ultra juicy. I absolutely have to take a bite right now. That is one of the juiciest pieces of turkey I've ever tasted. The butter is special, so make sure you check out that recipe. The brine is simple. I'm Chef Yankel. I'll see you next time.